This is 4.4, lesson 4.4, and ScrollViews just very quickly are inside of your app. If you have a bunch of information that you want that's bigger than the view, then you can put it inside of a scroll view, and that'll allow your user to scroll the content around, you know, like up and down. Your iPhone doesn't do that automatically by itself. You'd have to insert a scroll view. So if the content is larger, then when you slide your finger up or down, it might scroll that view to reveal more and more information. You'll see. Let's just move forward here. So in this lesson, they want you to create a new Xcode project, single view application named Scrolling Form. So let's do that. Let's start with that. So I'm launching Xcode. You know, I had Xcode open. I was working on something. There we go. I'm going to get started with a new Xcode project, single view application, and I'm going to call it Scrolling Form because that's what they asked us to call it. Next, it's going to ask us where to put that, and we'll put that, I'm going to put it in my demos folder, but you might put it on your desktop. Create. All right. So here we are inside of the Xcode interface. And first, we're going to take a look at the main storyboard over here. So click on main storyboard once, and then down here in the lower right-hand side, type in scroll view. So you just type scroll, and there it is. And once you find this scroll view, then click and drag it onto your view in the ViewController here. I'm going to bring it all the way to the top corner here, so you see it snap into place. And then I'm going to drag the corner piece to scale it to the whole screen. Now we have a scroll view stretched across the whole screen. And you know what I always like to do too? I like to go down here in the bottom corner and reset to suggested constraints. And that just checks to make sure that it's snapped to the edges here. So when you rotate if your phone is bigger, then it scales the scroll view to match the view. So it stretches it out based on the size of the phone or the device or the iPad, whatever you're doing. Actually, let's do that again because the book actually wants you to do constraints a little differently. So I'm going to select the scroll view, and then down here, I'm going to clear the constraints. So now the constraints are removed, and instead of doing it automatically, well, let's pin them manually. So this is where you'd pin the constraints. You click in here with this little dotted line and it makes it solid. And that says it needs to be 0 pixels from the safe area in this case. You can also change it to the view, but in this case we're just going to pin all of these to the sides of the view, the safe area of the view. Add those 4 constraints and there we go. And you'll see when you add constraints they show up here. So here are the actual constraints that we've added, and you can get pretty detailed on their settings. All right, next it says let's add a stack view. So instead of scroll down here, I'm going to type in stack in the bottom corner here. And they want us to put a vertical stack view in. So let's click and drag vertical stack view here, and I'm actually going to fill, you can drop it wherever, but I'm going to fill this view again as well. So I'm just dragging the corners so it fits perfectly inside of my scroll view, stack view. And you'll see the good news is it went in the right place. The stack view is now underneath the scroll view. So anything that's indented here underneath scroll view, that's inside of the scroll view. This safe area, for instance, you can drag buttons and stuff outside of the scroll view and then it won't be scrollable. So everything you want to scroll should be indented inside of the scroll view. Also, we're going to add a little constraint, so I'm going to make sure the stack view is selected, and then I'm going to pin the constraints the same way. It's giving us a warning here, and I think that'll resolve when we continue with this lesson. Let me make sure that interesting. Yeah. Whenever I use stack view, I always get some errors, some warnings, but let's see if it resolves itself if we continue. All right, let's take a look at the instructions here. In your scrolling form project, you'll add your scrolling content to the stack view. To simplify the process, you'll create a group of views that will allow you to add as many fields as you need. Each group will consist of 3 views: a UI view as a background container, a label, and a text field. The label will tell the user what type of data to enter into the text field. Both will be subviews of the background view. All right, so let's do what it says here. It says drag a view from the object library into the stack view. So again, we just go down here. I'm going to type in view. Now, not ViewController. That's different than UI view. Where's UI view? Here it is, just view. See how this is gray and the other one is yellow? Yellow is like, it's got the controller part in it too. We just want the view part. We don't want the controller. So I'm dragging a view into the stack and it throws it up at the top there. Now, UI views, it doesn't have any intrinsic sizes built into it. So the stack view doesn't know like how big it's supposed to be. And so after we've added the views, we're going to have to make sure that the constraints are right after we're all done with this, basically. So it also said we wanted to add a label and a text field, I think. So let's type label in here. We'll throw it inside of this view. So now it's in the view, which is in the stack view, which is in the scroll view. And there's text field and text view. Text field is like something someone can type inside of. Text view is like a block of text that you're going to display. So I think it said text field. I want to put that next to the label here. And I'll, change the size a little bit. I'm not exactly sure what it's going to look like in the end, but for now we'll just leave it like that. All right, so let's move this around a little bit and add some constraints. So I'm going to move the label to the top middle here, and I'll center align this text field too. And actually, I'm going to stretch this all the way to the edges here, and stretch this one all the way to the edges here. Okay. I think, excuse me, I think I also want to change the size of this. Oh, I can't do that just yet. That's right. Because it's going to change the size of the view. Because of the stack view, it kind of stretches things out for you. So let's add some constraints to the label first. Constraints down here, and we'll just pin it to, let's see, for each edge. Now you see, these are a little different. See how it's not like fully to the edge there? So there's 8 pixels over here and 8 pixels on the top, and there's 20 pixels to the nearest neighbor. So this is the nearest neighbor, is this label. So that's why if you start moving stuff around after you've added constraints, you might have to fix your constraints, because if you move the label around, then it changes things. So now let's select the text field here and add some constraints to it. Now, I believe we only have to add, yes, we only have to add these 3 constraints because we've already determined this one. There. Okay. So now all the red stuff went away. Hooray, that's amazing. Now we should be good with our constraints. So if we run the project now, let's just see what happens. Let's do this little bit by little bit. And I'm not necessarily liking it in this top corner here. I think it should be either centered or stretching to the edge here, but we'll see what they have planned for us. Perhaps that's just part of the lesson. Okay, well, there it is. There's the label, and here's the text view, and it's really small, huh? The label, at least no text is cutting off. Now I'm wondering if that's just because the nature of the scroll view. So if we added some text in here, now what would happen? Oh, look at that, it's scooted out for me. Isn't that interesting? So that's kind of nice. The scroll view the stack view kind of resized that text field for me. And but it's not scrolling yet, right? You can't like scroll because well, we don't have enough information here for it to scroll. We'd need to have more text and labels than would fit in the screen for it to scroll. Let's see if we rotate it. Yeah, we still don't have that. By the way, command arrow left, arrow right is the way to easily rotate your device. Okay, stop that. All right, so clearly we got to add some more stuff here. So we stopped the simulator, and we're going to change this label to, I don't know, they want first name, and I'm going to take this view that got resized like that. That's kind of fun, but not what I wanted. It's still okay? Yeah, it's still cool with that. All right, so I'm going to take this view, and just to be sure that I'm not copying the stack view, I'm going to select it over here, Command C, Command V, copy, paste. I'm going to paste more down there, paste, paste, paste. The kind of neat thing about this stack view is it's kind of lining it up for me. I don't have to do anything fancy. Now that's an interesting problem, is when you have more information than your view here will allow you to see. Let's put another one down there even below and see how we can deal with that. Now I'm pretty sure you can change the display view size. So the view of this, you can probably show more of it down below. But let's see how we can edit that. So first name, then we'll change this one to last name. We'll change this one to address, line 1, line 2, city, not city, city, state zip phone. So this one's state. Now here we're in trouble, right? Let's copy and paste it one more time even. We're in trouble because like how do we get to this information down here below? We can't see it. Well, you can actually edit it here too. Let's just do it the easy way and not worry about the fact that we can't see it yet. So this one's state, that's fine. The one below it, it's not first name. We're going to go to the inspector here and change it over here to city, state, zip code. And then there's another one that I put down there even below that, which is going to be the phone number. Now one cool thing, just while I'm thinking about it, is because it's a phone number, we don't necessarily want all the letters to be available. So the text input trait, the content type of that is probably going to be something like telephone number. Here you go. And that'll change it so they have like a number thing that pops up instead of letters and whatnot. Kind of cool, huh? Okay. Well, what if we want to add some, it's called, what is it called? Placeholder text. So you can also put first name in here, or you can put some text in like enter your name, something like that. Let's take a look at this now before we get too far. See how it's looking. I probably could remove some of the space between these fields too. Like it'd probably be better for me to make it thinner, like not quite as deep. Okay, so now we're scrolling it, and you can see there's content outside. Now let's see. Oh, all right, our scroll field is working. Our scroll view. Pretty cool. And you'll see the placeholder text is here. You click in there and you can type probably. Yeah, that's cool. So we're getting somewhere. I'm going to go ahead and enter in the placeholder text for these other fields as well, and give you guys a break. Okay, so I've added the placeholder text for the the text fields as well. Cool thing about placeholder text is, let's see it in the simulator here, when you start typing, it goes away, and when you delete any text, it comes back. It's kind of like a little magic trick for you there. See, last name, first name, last name, address. So I start typing and it goes away, and if I delete my text all the way, it comes back. Pretty cool, huh? I might have to fiddle with this a little bit because I'm showing that, although it might stretch out when I start typing, it's kind of blocking the edge there. Okay, a couple things. I stopped the recording for a moment there. So I apologize if the audio is a little weird. I think that maybe the microphone was rubbing against my beard. How embarrassing. So I'll try keeping the mic down like this. Hopefully this is better. And the other thing is I was looking at scooting everything down, and I started scooting stuff down and I broke everything. So just know that I think the easiest way to scoot, now that we've added all those special constraints, the easiest way is probably for us just to select all of the labels and fields and just slide them down a little bit. So let me show you how to do that. Because what was happening was I don't know if you saw, but the time and the battery life, all that little window up there was kind of like over this. And I'm sure there's a fancy way to scoot everything down, like to create a bigger safe area, but I'm a little lazy right now, so let's just select all that stuff. And then I'm going to use this arrow key to, actually the other arrow key, this one up, to slide everything down just a little bit so it's not overlapping. And now you see as I'm doing this, it's creating these yellow lines. And that means that the constraints aren't correct anymore. So then after that, I'm going to update the constraints. And hopefully that resolves most of them. Oh boy, this might not work. Oh, forget it. I'm just going to undo it. And then we'll deal with that later. Let's deal with that later when I feel a little more refreshed. All right, moving on. Let's just double check to make sure it works. Build and run. Again, hopefully my microphone's a little bit better now. So we put all the placeholder text in. I showed you how to do that. If I've deleted that part, then I'll go over it again. So it still scrolls. Placeholder text is in there. Still scrolls. Very cool. Okay. And what do you know? Look at that. It's actually not, it wasn't like this. Huh. Wait a second. Yeah, isn't that annoying? When you first build and run, it's behind the carrier text here, but if you actually scroll it down a little bit, then it's not. So it's not like really starting the way it should start like this. So for some reason the scroll view is a little like 30 pixels too high until you drag it down. That's an annoying little thing I got to work on. So, but again, these things take time, so let's just keep moving on the homework. So one of the things they mention is sometimes if you've got a field down here of text, let's say someone clicks down here in the state, and you click in there, and the keyboard thing will pop up, and it'll pop up in front of the text here, so you can't see what you're typing. That's a big problem, huh? So there's a bunch of code that you can write to fix that, but apparently they don't get into that in this particular lesson, but just know that you'll need to write some special code for that. And by the way, I think the reason why normally in your app the keyboard would pop up when you're clicking into these text fields, I think the reason why it's not doing that for me is because I've got a Bluetooth keyboard hooked up, and it's just assuming that I'm using the Bluetooth keyboard and not the keyboard on the screen here. I wonder if I can pop the keyboard up for you. See, it would pop up like that. And if it's not, then we should look into that, because it should. Okay, so the next part of the lesson is talking more about that keyboard thing. So let's look here. It says to adjust the size of the content, you need to create an outlet from the scroll view to its view controller, and then you can add the following code to the view controller to fix the keyboard issue. The keyboard issue they're talking about is making things not hidden. So let's do this. first of all, it says you can add this code to the ViewController class. So it's telling us to add this code. So I think it's okay for me to select and copy and paste it because it's telling me to do so. So this is the ViewController. This is the ViewController class. And I'm going to make some space down here. And I'm going to paste in what they said. But the other part of it was, I think there was more code on the next page as well. Where's my book? Where's that book? There you are. Page 2. There's the code continued. Now let's see if that even works. Copy and pasting sometimes, you know, quote, commas and quotes and text in there, excerpt from, you know, looks like we're going to have to actually do it by hand. I'm putting these in one at a time, and put this excerpt from Apple's, this actually pasted in with the function when you try to copy it. Pretty cool stuff. Now, these are going to give me errors because I haven't put these functions in. At the pound selectors are, that's like, this is a function that's going to be called later, basically. So now I'm going back to the book, and let me add in the rest. It's telling us to put these in, so that's why I'm copying and pasting, not because I'm stealing. And every time you copy and paste, it puts this little excerpt from Apple, which I've already quoted them above. Puts in some quotes here too, which is kind of not going to work out. And then the rest of this function, I think, is on the next page of the book. Page 2. And I'll just copy this too. And fix it up. So quotes come out. This excerpt thing, I already have it listed above. Hide this to give ourselves a little bit of space. Now we haven't defined ScrollView yet. That makes sense. So let's define the ScrollView first, or now. Boop-de-doop. I'm clicking this assistant editor. Now selecting storyboard. And just to make sure I'm dragging the right thing in, I'm going to use, instead of trying to click on the scroll view here, because see, if you click on it, now it's selected the view. You might accidentally select the stack view, but I want the scroll view. So now I'm going to option click, not option, control click the scroll view and drag it over here. Make an outlet, call it scroll view, because then it'll match their code. Made sure it's an outlet before I did that. And now let's take a look at our code and if that fixed some of the problems. Keyboard was shown, should be a thing, it's right here. I'm going to hit build, because sometimes when you build, it'll clear it out and try it again. Invalid character, I think that's something to do with me copying and pasting it. Yeah, there's some secret characters in there that you can't see. Secret characters. Now, every couple months they change the way that this selector works. So let's see what it's telling us here. Yeah, now they want to add this Objective-C thing to it. Fine, whatever. Fix it. Do it. Because every 3 seconds they change this. And what that added is this at Objective-C in front of these functions they're going to be called. Sure, Swift, however you want to do it, let's do it that way. I'm going to delete this space here. I don't think that's important. I think it looks a little bit better without the space there. Okay. We've got their fancy code in there now. Gosh, that took a lot of pasting and copying and whatnot. It would have been easier for me just to type it out for sure. Next time, live and learn. Guess they'll let that be a lesson. No copying and pasting code, but it told me to, really, didn't it? Now let's see what kind of madness happens. Oh, there's the keyboard. Bippity boppity boo. Now what happens? Let's see. Oh, now there's one other thing is it's not going away when you click outside of it. Have you noticed that? There's another bit of code to get it to go away. Over here inside of ViewDidLoad, we're going up to the ViewDidLoad inside of the ViewController class. We're going to put in register for keyboard notifications. That is the function we just made. This one, see it corresponds here. So we're not actually registering for those notifications yet. We put all this code in, but we didn't actually start it up. We didn't call the function. So now let's reload it with the function called. And then we'll take a look at what the code is doing, their fancy code. Bippity boppity boo. Bippity boo. Cool. Now let's see if we try to type something in down here. That's cool. Let me try running it again because I'm kind of curious here. What problem are we trying to solve exactly? Yeah, look at that. That was pretty cool. Did you catch that? Let me do it again. So this little bit of code that they gave us is the code to slide the view up. So if you try to start typing in the state field here, and you select it, see how it slid the whole scroll view up to match. That is a sweet little bit of code. I'm going to have to use that in my app. Thank you, Apple. So let's see what it's doing here. So we haven't really talked about this yet, registering for notifications. So the notification center is like, it adds these observers. It basically listens for things to happen. In this case, it's listening for the keyboard to show up. When the keyboard shows up, then it executes this function. In this case, it's observing for when the keyboard is hidden, and then when the keyboard's hidden, it executes this function. So here's the one where it shows, and here's the one where it hides. And this fancy bit of code inside is what scrolls the view up and down. Pretty cool stuff, guys. Gotta tell you. So one slightly annoying thing about this particular tutorial is it doesn't talk about what's it